The shrill ring of my phone pierced the quiet of our bedroom. I fumbled for it, my heart racing as I saw the clinic's number flash across the screen. This was it, the moment we'd been waiting for. "Hello?" I answered, my voice trembling. "Mrs. Nora Thompson? This is Dr. Patel's office." I gripped the phone tighter, willing the nurse to continue. "Yes, this is she. I'm sorry, but your pregnancy test came back negative." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Another failure, another month of disappointment. I mumbled a thank you and hung up, tears already streaming down my face. "Jackson?" I called out, desperate for my husband's comfort, but the house remained silent. Where was he? I dragged myself out of bed, padding down the hallway to his home office. The door was ajar, and I could hear his muffled voice. He was on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. "I can't wait to see you either, babe," he said, his voice warm and affectionate in a way I hadn't heard in months. "I'll make an excuse and be there in an hour." My blood ran cold. I pushed the door open, revealing Jackson lounging in his chair, a guilty expression spreading across his face as he saw me. "Who are you talking to?" I demanded, my voice barely above a whisper. Jackson fumbled with his phone, trying to hide the screen. "No one, honey, just a work call." "Don't lie to me," I spat, anger rising to replace the numbness. "I heard you. Who's babe?" His shoulders sagged, and he had the decency to look ashamed. "Nora, I'm sorry, I didn't want you to find out like this." "Find out what?" I asked, even though I already knew the answer. "I've been seeing someone else," he admitted, unable to meet my eyes. "Her name's Melissa. She's pregnant." The words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, gripping the doorframe for support. "Pregnant? But we've been trying for years. How?" Jackson stood, reaching out to me, but I flinched away from his touch. "I'm so sorry, Nora. I should have told you sooner. The truth is, I'm not infertile. It's you. It's always been you." I felt like I was drowning, gasping for air that wouldn't come. "What are you saying?" "I've known for a while that I could have children," he said, his voice cold and detached. I couldn't have them with you." The room spun around me as the full weight of his betrayal sank in. Years of treatments, of hope and heartbreak, all for nothing. And now this final, cruel twist of the knife. "Get out," I whispered, my voice shaking with rage. "Nora, please, let's talk about this," Jackson pleaded, but I was beyond reason. "Get out!" I screamed, grabbing the nearest object, a framed photo of our wedding day, and hurling it at him. It shattered against the wall, a fitting metaphor for our marriage. Jackson ducked, hands raised in surrender. Okay, I'm going. But we need to discuss this eventually. I want a divorce, Nora, a clean break." I watched in stunned silence as he grabbed his keys and wallet, heading for the door. Just before he left, he turned back to me, his expression a mix of guilt and relief. "I really am sorry," he said softly. "I hope someday you can forgive me." The door closed behind him with a final click, leaving me alone in the wreckage of my life. I sank to the floor, surrounded by the shards of our broken dreams, and let out a primal scream of anguish. How had it come to this? 10 years of marriage, of building a life together, all destroyed in a matter of minutes. As the tears flowed freely, I realized with startling clarity that this was only the beginning. Jackson wanted a divorce, and knowing him, it would be anything but clean. I pulled myself to my feet, wiping away my tears with trembling hands. If he wanted a fight, I'd give him one. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The library's familiar scent of old books and lemon-scented cleaner greeted me as I pushed through the heavy wooden doors. It had been 6 months since Jackson walked out, leaving me to pick up the pieces of our shattered life. The divorce was final now, a bitter process that had drained me emotionally and financially. But here, surrounded by stories of adventure and romance, I could almost forget the pain. Nora, Margaret, the head librarian, waved me over to the circulation desk. Her kind face creased with concern. "How are you holding up, dear?" I managed a weak smile. "One day at a time, Margaret. Thanks for asking." She patted my hand. "Listen, I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Do you have a moment?" My stomach clenched. Was she going to cut my hours? I couldn't afford to lose this job, not now. "Of course," I said, trying to keep the worry from my voice. Margaret led me to her tiny office, gesturing for me to take a seat. "Nora, you've been such a wonderful addition to our team these past few months. Your work ethic, your rapport with the patrons, it's been a joy to watch you blossom here." I relaxed slightly, hope flickering in my chest. "Thank you, Margaret. That means a lot." She leaned forward, her eyes twinkling. "Well, I have some news. Mrs. Jameson is retiring next month, and we'll need someone to take over her full-time position. I'd like to offer it to you." For a moment, I couldn't speak. A full-time job with benefits? It was more than I dared to hope for. "Oh, Margaret," I breathed. "I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she urged, grinning. "We need you here, Nora, and I think you need us too." Tears pricked at my eyes as I nodded. Yes, I'd love to accept." As I left Margaret's office, my phone buzzed. A text from Jackson. My good mood evaporated instantly. "Need to talk. Meet me at Joe's Diner at 7. I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. What could he possibly want now? We'd said everything there was to say during the divorce, but curiosity got the better of me. "Fine," I texted back. "But make it quick." The rest of my shift passed in a blur of shelving books and helping patrons, my mind racing with possibilities. By the time I pushed open the diner's door, my nerves were frayed. Jackson was already there, nursing a cup of coffee. He looked different. Haggard, almost. The smug confidence that had always irritated me was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite place. "Nora," he said, standing as I approached. "Thanks for coming." I slid into the booth across from him, keeping my expression neutral. "What do you want, Jackson?" He took a deep breath, his fingers drumming nervously on the table. I need your help." I barked out a laugh. "You've got to be kidding me. After everything you've put me through, you have the audacity to ask for my help." "Please, just hear me out," he pleaded. "It's Melissa. She's gone." That stopped me cold. "What do you mean, gone?" Jackson's face crumpled. "She left, took all her things and disappeared. She's not answering her phone. Her family hasn't heard from her. I'm worried, Nora. She's 7 months pregnant with my child." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Part of me wanted to laugh in his face, to tell him this was karma for what he'd done to me. But the fear in his eyes was real. "Why come to me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Because you're the most resourceful person I know," he said. "And because I trust you. Despite everything, I know you're a good person, Nora. Will you help me find her?" I stared at him, my mind reeling. This was my chance for revenge, to watch him suffer as I had. But could I live with myself if something happened to Melissa or the baby? "I'll think about it," I said finally, standing up. "That's all I can promise for now." As I walked out of the diner, my phone buzzed again, a number I didn't recognize. I answered, my heart pounding. "Hello?" A woman's voice, trembling and scared. "Is this Nora? It's Melissa. I need your help." I stared at my phone in disbelief, Melissa's desperate voice still ringing in my ears. My mind raced, torn between helping the woman who'd stolen my husband and hanging up out of spite. "Melissa," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "What's going on? Are you okay?" Her sobs crackled through the line. "No, I'm not. I think Jackson might hurt me, or the baby. I don't know what to do." My blood ran cold. Jackson, capable of hurting a pregnant woman? It seemed impossible, and yet, "Where are you?" I asked, already heading to my car. "A motel just outside of town. The Pinewood, room 12. "Please, Nora, I know I have no right to ask, but—" "I'm on my way," I interrupted, surprising myself. "Stay put and lock the door. I'll be there in 20 minutes. As I drove, my thoughts whirled. What had Jackson done to terrify Melissa so much? And why come to me, of all people? The Pinewood Motel was a seedy affair, paint peeling and neon sign flickering weakly in the twilight. I knocked on room 12, heart pounding. Melissa opened the door, her face tear-stained and swollen. Her pregnant belly seemed impossibly large, a stark reminder of everything I'd lost. "Thank you for coming," she whispered, ushering me inside. I perched awkwardly on the edge of the bed, watching as Melissa paced the small room. "Tell me what happened," I said gently. She took a shuddering breath. "Jackson? He's not who I thought he was. At first he was so kind, so attentive, but lately he's become controlling, paranoid. He accuses me of cheating, says the baby isn't his. Last night She trailed off, her hand unconsciously moving to her arm. I noticed the bruises then, peeking out from under her sleeve. Anger flared in my chest. "Did he hurt you?" Melissa nodded, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "I'm scared, Nora. I don't know what he'll do next." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. Jackson's name flashed on the screen. I showed it to Melissa, whose eyes widened in fear. "Don't answer," she pleaded. I hesitated, then declined the call. "We need to get you somewhere safe," I said, standing up. "Pack your things. You can stay with me tonight, and tomorrow we'll figure out a more permanent solution." As Melissa gathered her belongings, my phone rang again. This time, it was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Nora, it's Marianne. I need your help." My heart stopped. "Marianne? My best friend, Marianne." "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "This isn't funny." "Nora, please," the voice insisted. "I know this sounds crazy, but it's me. There's been an accident. Tom and I, we didn't make it. But Ethan, our son, he's alive. He needs you." The room spun around me. This couldn't be happening. Marianne and Tom had left for a weekend getaway just yesterday, leaving their 5-year-old son with a babysitter. "I don't understand," I whispered, sinking back onto the bed. "There's no time to explain." Marianne's voice urged. "Please, Nora, go to our house. Take care of Ethan. You're the only one I trust." The line went dead. I stared at the phone, my mind reeling. "Nora?" Melissa's concerned voice broke through my shock. "What's wrong?" I looked up at her, this woman who'd been my rival now seeking my protection. And somewhere across town, my best friend's child might be alone and scared. "We have to go," I said, standing on shaky legs. "Now." As we hurried to my car, I caught a glimpse of a familiar figure in the parking lot. Jackson, his face twisted with rage, spotted us and started running. "Get in!" I yelled to Melissa, fumbling with my keys. We peeled out of the lot just as Jackson reached us, his fists pounding on the window. In the rearview mirror, I saw him sprint to his own car. My hands gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. Melissa whimpered beside me, one hand protectively cradling her belly. "Where are we going?" she asked, fear evident in her voice. I took a deep breath, my mind made up. To save a little boy. As we sped through the night, Jackson's headlights looming in the mirror, I realized my life had irrevocably changed. In one night, I'd become protector to my husband's mistress and guardian to my best friend's orphaned child. Whatever came next, I knew nothing would ever be the same. The first few weeks with Ethan were a blur of sleepless nights, tear-stained cheeks, and awkward silences. At 5 years old, he was old enough to understand that his parents weren't coming back, but too young to fully grasp the permanence of death. His grief manifested in tantrums and nightmares that left us both exhausted. One particularly rough morning, I found Ethan huddled in his closet, clutching a photo of Marianne and Tom. "Ethan, sweetheart," I called softly, crouching down to his level. "What are you doing in there?" His big brown eyes, so like Marianne's, met mine. "I want my mommy," he whispered, his lower lip trembling. My heart shattered. "I know, sweetie. I miss her, too." I held out my arms, and after a moment's hesitation, he crawled into them. I held him close, rocking gently as he sobbed against my shoulder. "Why did they leave me?" He hiccuped between tears. I swallowed hard, fighting back my own grief. "They didn't want to, Ethan. They loved you so much. Sometimes bad things happen, and we can't control them. But I promise you, your mommy and daddy would be so proud of how brave you're being." He pulled back, wiping his nose on his sleeve. "Really?" I nodded, managing a small smile. "Really. And you know what? They asked me to take care of you because they knew how much I love you too." Ethan's brow furrowed. "But you're not my real mom." The words stung, but I pushed past the pain. "You're right, I'm not. But I promise to love you and take care of you, just like your mom would want. We're family now, you and me. Is that okay?" He considered this for a long moment, then nodded solemnly. "Okay. Can we have pancakes for breakfast?" I laughed, relief washing over me. "Absolutely. Let's go make a mess in the kitchen." As the weeks turned into months, Ethan and I settled into a routine. School drop-offs, bedtime stories, weekend trips to the park. Slowly but surely, we were building a life together. It wasn't always easy, but every small victory felt monumental. One evening, as I tucked Ethan into bed, he asked the question I'd been dreading. "Nora, why don't you have any kids of your own?" I froze, caught off guard by the innocent inquiry. "Well," I began, choosing my words carefully, "sometimes it's not that easy for grown-ups to have babies. I wanted to very much, but it just didn't happen for me." Ethan's face scrunched up in thought. "Is that why you took me? Because you couldn't have your own baby?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. "No, sweetie," I said firmly, sitting on the edge of his bed. "I took you in because I love you and because your mom was my best friend. You're not a replacement for anything. You're you, and that's exactly who I want you to be." He nodded, seemingly satisfied. Then in a small voice he asked, "Can I call you Mom?" Tears sprang to my eyes. "Oh, Ethan, if that's what you want, I'd be honored." He smiled, reaching up to wipe away a tear that had escaped down my cheek. "Don't cry, Mom. I love you too." As I left his room that night, my heart full to bursting, my phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jackson. "We need to talk. It's about Ethan." My blood ran cold. What could Jackson possibly want with Ethan? He'd never shown any interest in children before, unless... A horrible thought struck me. What if Jackson was Ethan's biological father? What if all those years of trying to conceive, he'd been unfaithful not just with Melissa, but with Marianne too? I sank to the floor, my back against Ethan's door, as the implications washed over me. If it was true, Jackson tried to take Ethan away. The life we'd built, the family we'd become, it could all be ripped away in an instant. I looked at my phone, Jackson's message still glowing on the screen. Whatever he wanted, whatever secrets were about to be revealed, I knew one thing for certain. I would fight with everything I had to keep Ethan safe and by my side. With trembling fingers, I typed out a response. "Tomorrow, noon, the park, and Jackson, if you try anything, I swear I'll make you regret it." I hit send, steeling myself for the battle ahead. For Ethan, I'd face any storm, even if it meant confronting the ghosts of my past and the man who'd shattered my world. The supermarket's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I navigated the crowded aisles, Ethan chattered excitedly beside me. At 8 years old now, he was a bundle of energy and curiosity, always eager to help with the shopping. "Can we get Lucky Charms, Mom? Please?" He tugged at my sleeve, eyes wide and pleading. I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Nice try, buddy. How about we compromise with some Cheerios?" As we turned the corner into the cereal aisle, I froze. There, examining a box of bran flakes, was Jackson. My heart raced, and I instinctively pulled Ethan closer. "Mom?" Ethan looked up at me, confusion etched on his face. "What's wrong?" Before I could respond, Jackson turned. His eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed as they settled on Ethan. "Well, well," he drawled, a smirk playing at his lips. "If it isn't my ex-wife and her, what should I call him? Rental kid?" Anger flared in my chest. "Jackson," I hissed, "don't you dare." "What? State the obvious?" He stepped closer, his gaze cruel. "How pathetic, Nora. Couldn't have a baby of your own, so you had to borrow someone else's." Ethan's grip on my hand tightened. "Don't talk to my mom like that," he shouted, his young voice ringing through the aisle. Jackson's eyebrows shot up. "Mom? Oh, that's rich. Tell me, kid, does she tuck you in at night and pretend she's your real mother? Does she—" "Shut up," I snapped, my voice trembling with rage. "You have no right to speak to us like this. Come on, Ethan, we're leaving." As I turned to go, Jackson grabbed my arm. "Not so fast. We have unfinished business, you and I." Ethan reacted instantly, kicking Jackson hard in the shin. "Let go of her." Jackson yelped in pain, releasing me. His face contorted with fury. "You little brat," I stepped between them, my protective instincts in overdrive. "Touch him, and I swear I'll make you regret it." A small crowd had gathered, murmuring and staring. Jackson glanced around, seeming to realize he was making a scene. He straightened, smoothing his shirt. "This isn't over, Nora," he said, his voice low and menacing. "You can't play happy families forever. Sooner or later, the truth always comes out." With that, he stalked away, leaving me shaken and confused. What truth was he talking about? Ethan tugged at my hand. "Mom, can we go home now?" I nodded, abandoning our half-filled cart. As we walked to the car, Ethan's small voice broke the silence. "I'm sorry I kicked that man, Mom, but he was being mean to you." I knelt down, pulling him into a tight hug. "Oh, sweetheart, you have nothing to be sorry for. You were so brave." "Who was he?" Ethan asked, his face buried in my shoulder. I took a deep breath. That was my ex-husband, the man I was married to before." Ethan pulled back, his brow furrowed. "He's not very nice." "No," I agreed. "He's not, but you know what? We don't need him. We have each other, and that's what matters." As we drove home, my mind raced. Jackson's words echoed in my head. What did he mean about the truth coming out? And why now, after all this time? That night, after tucking Ethan in, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my phone. I knew I should call my lawyer, maybe even the police. Jackson's behavior had been threatening, and I needed to protect Ethan. But something held me back, a nagging feeling that there was more to this story than I knew. What if Jackson really did have information about Ethan? What if he could take him away? My finger hovered over Jackson's number. One call could give me answers, but it could also open a Pandora's box of trouble. Was I ready to face whatever truths might come to light? The clock ticked loudly in the quiet house. Ethan's soft snores drifted from his room. This was our life now, our family. I'd do anything to protect it. With a deep breath, I made my decision. I pressed the call button, my heart pounding as the phone began to ring. Whatever Jackson had to say, whatever storm was coming our way, I'd face it head-on. For Ethan, for our family, for the life we'd built together. As the ringing continued, I steeled myself for the battle ahead. No matter what, I wouldn't let anyone tear us apart. Not Jackson, not the past, not even the truth itself. The cafe bustled with mid-morning activity, but I barely noticed the chatter around me. My eyes were fixed on the door, my heart racing as I waited for Jackson to arrive. Ethan was safely at school, unaware of this clandestine meeting that could change everything. The bell above the door chimed, and there he was. Jackson, looking as smug and self-assured as ever. He slid into the seat across from me, a manila envelope in his hand. "Nora," he said, his voice dripping with false warmth. "So good of you to meet me." I cut straight to the chase. "What do you want, Jackson? What's this truth you were talking about?" He smirked, tapping the envelope. Always so impatient, but I suppose there's no point in dragging this out. He slid the envelope across the table. "Open it." With trembling hands I did. Inside were medical records. Jackson's medical records. My eyes widened as I scanned the documents, disbelief washing over me. "You're infertile?" I whispered, looking up at him in shock. Jackson nodded, his smug expression faltering for a moment. "Have been since before we were married. All those years of trying, all those treatments. It was never going to work, Nora. It was always you." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Anger, hurt, and confusion warred within me. "Why?" I choked out. "Why put me through all of that if you knew?" He shrugged, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. I thought maybe the doctors were wrong, and then, when I realized they weren't, I was a coward. It was easier to let you think it was your fault. I felt sick. All those years of self-doubt, of feeling broken and inadequate, all because of his lie. "You bastard," I hissed. "Do you have any idea what you put me through?" "I'm sorry," he said, and for once he sounded sincere. "I know it doesn't make up for anything, but I am sorry." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "Why tell me now, after all this time?" Jackson's expression hardened. "Because of Ethan. I've been doing some digging, Nora. I know he's not really Marianne's son." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" He leaned forward, his voice low. "I found adoption papers. Marianne and Tom adopted Ethan as a newborn. And here's the kicker. His birth mother? She looks an awful lot like you." The room spun around me. It couldn't be true. And yet, a long-buried memory surfaced. A drunken night with Tom years ago, before he and Marianne were married. We'd sworn never to speak of it, to pretend it never happened. "No," I whispered, more to myself than to Jackson. "It's not possible, isn't it?" Jackson pressed. "Think about it, Nora. The timing fits. And haven't you ever wondered why you felt such an instant connection to him?" Tears streamed down my face as the implications hit me. If it was true, if Ethan was really my son... "What do you want?" I asked, my voice barely audible. Jackson's expression softened slightly. "I want you to know the truth. About me, about Ethan. And I want a chance to make things right." I stared at him, incredulous. "Make things right? How could you possibly?" "I can help you," he interrupted. "If Ethan is your biological son, you have rights. We could fight for custody together." The offer hung in the air between us, tempting and terrifying all at once. Part of me wanted to scream at Jackson, to throw the envelope in his face and storm out, but another part, the part that had always longed for a child of my own, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was my chance. "I need time," I said finally, gathering the documents with shaking hands. "I need to process all of this." Jackson nodded, standing up. "Take all the time you need. But Nora, don't wait too long. Ethan deserves to know the truth about where he came from." As he walked away, I sat frozen, the weight of his revelations crushing me. My whole world had just been turned upside down. Ethan, my sweet, brave Ethan, could be my flesh and blood. The child I'd always longed for had been right in front of me all along. But claiming him as my own would mean destroying the life we'd built together. It would mean shattering his memories of Marianne and Tom, the parents he'd loved and lost. Could I do that to him? Could I be that selfish? As I left the cafe, my mind reeling, I knew I faced the most impossible decision of my life. The truth was out there now, waiting to be acknowledged. And whatever choice I made, nothing would ever be the same again. The university campus buzzed with excitement as proud families gathered for graduation day. I stood at the edge of the crowd, my heart swelling with pride as I watched Ethan, now a handsome young man of 22, adjusting his cap and gown. "Mom," he called, waving me over. "Can you believe it? I'm finally done." I hugged him tightly, blinking back tears. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Your parents would be too." A shadow crossed his face at the mention of Marianne and Tom, but he quickly smiled again. "I know, and I'm grateful for you, Mom, for everything." As we made our way towards the auditorium, a familiar voice stopped us cold. Well, if it isn't the happy family." I turned to see Jackson standing there, looking older but still as smug as ever. Ethan tensed beside me. "What are you doing here?" I hissed, stepping protectively in front of Ethan. Jackson smirked. "Can't a man congratulate his stepson on his big day?" Ethan's eyes widened in confusion. "Stepson? What are you talking about?" My heart raced. I'd never told Ethan the truth about his parentage, always planning to wait for the right moment. But now, Jackson was threatening to ruin everything. "It's nothing, Ethan," I said quickly. "Let's go inside." But Jackson wasn't done. "Oh, come now, Nora, don't you think it's time he knew about his real mother?" Ethan looked between us, his face a mix of confusion and growing anger. "Mom, what's going on?" I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came out. How could I explain years of secrets and lies in this moment? "Your mother here has been keeping quite the secret," Jackson continued, his voice dripping with false concern. "You see, Ethan, Marianne and Tom weren't your real parents. They adopted you, and your birth mother, well, she's standing right next to you." The world seemed to stop. Ethan stumbled back, his face pale with shock. "What? Mom, is this true?" Tears streamed down my face as I nodded. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. I wanted to tell you, but How long have you known?" he demanded, his voice shaking. I only found out recently," I stammered. "I was trying to find the right time to—" "To what?" Ethan interrupted, his voice rising. "To tell me my whole life has been a lie? That the woman I've called Mom for years is actually my birth mother?" Jackson watched our exchange with barely concealed glee. "Oh, it gets better. Tell him about Tom, Nora. Tell him how you—" "Enough!" A commanding voice cut through the tension. We all turned to see Arthur Callahan, CEO of a major tech company and an old friend of Marianne's family, striding towards us. "This is neither the time nor the place for such revelations," Arthur said firmly. He turned to Ethan, his expression softening. "Young man, I knew your parents, all of them, and I can assure you the love they had for you was real, regardless of biology." Ethan's shoulders sagged, the fight seeming to drain out of him. I don't know what to believe anymore." Arthur placed a comforting hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Believe in your own accomplishments. This is your day, Ethan. Don't let anyone take that away from you." He glanced at Jackson. "And as for you, I think it's time you left." Jackson opened his mouth to protest, but something in Arthur's steely gaze made him think better of it. With a final sneer in my direction, he slunk away. As the crowd around us began to disperse, Arthur turned to Ethan. "I have a proposition for you. My company is always looking for bright young minds. How would you like to join us as a junior executive?" Ethan blinked, momentarily distracted from the emotional turmoil. Really? But you don't even know my qualifications." Arthur smiled. "I know enough. What do you say?" As Ethan and Arthur discussed the details, I stood to the side, my mind reeling. In the span of minutes, everything had changed. The truth was out, for better or worse, and I had no idea where we'd go from here. The ceremony was about to begin, and Ethan turned to me, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "After all this is over." I nodded, my heart heavy. "Of course, whatever you need." As we made our way into the auditorium, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was a turning point. Our relationship, our family, hung in the balance. And I had no idea if we'd be able to rise from the ashes of these revelations, or if everything we'd built would crumble to dust. The tension in the air was palpable as Ethan and I stood face to face in our living room. His graduation gown lay discarded on the couch, a stark reminder of how quickly joy had turned to anguish. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan's voice was raw with emotion. "All these years, you knew you were my real mother?" I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "No, sweetheart. I only found out recently. I was trying to find the right way to tell you." "And Tom? Was he really my father?" I took a deep breath. "Yes, it was a mistake. One night, before he and Marianne were married, we never spoke of it again." Ethan paced the room, running his hands through his hair. "So my whole life has been a lie? Marianne and Tom weren't even my real parents?" "No," I said fiercely. "They loved you more than anything in this world. Biology doesn't change that." Before Ethan could respond, a loud banging on the door made us both jump. Jackson's voice boomed from the other side. "Open up! We're not done here!" Fear gripped my heart. "Ethan, call the police," I whispered. But it was too late. The door burst open, revealing Jackson, his eyes wild with anger and something else, desperation. "You think you can just cut me out?" he snarled, advancing towards us. "I'm the one who uncovered the truth. I deserve to be part of this family." Ethan stepped in front of me protectively. "You're not family. You're nothing but a bitter, jealous man who couldn't handle the truth about himself." Jackson's face contorted with rage. He lunged forward, grabbing Ethan by the shirt. "You ungrateful little—" Suddenly, Arthur appeared in the doorway, his imposing figure filling the frame. "That's enough, Jackson. Let him go." Jackson released Ethan, turning his fury on Arthur. This is all your fault, swooping in like some white knight." "The only person at fault here is you," Arthur said calmly. "Now I suggest you leave before the police arrive." As if on cue, sirens wailed in the distance. Jackson's face paled. He looked from Arthur to Ethan to me, realization dawning that he'd lost everything. "This isn't over," he spat, before pushing past Arthur and disappearing into the night. In the aftermath, as the police took our statements and Jackson was arrested for breaking and entering, Ethan, Arthur, and I sat in stunned silence. Finally, Ethan spoke. "I'm sorry, Mom, for doubting you, for pushing you away." I reached for his hand, my heart swelling with love. "Oh, sweetheart, you have nothing to be sorry for. I'm the one who should apologize. I should have told you the truth sooner." "Maybe," he said, squeezing my hand, "but I understand why you didn't. You were protecting me, just like you always have." Arthur cleared his throat. "If I may, Ethan, I've known your family, all of your family, for a long time, and I can say without a doubt that you are loved. By Marianne and Tom, who chose you and cherished every moment with you, and by Nora, who has been there for you in ways that go beyond biology." Tears welled in my eyes as I looked at Arthur gratefully. In that moment, I saw him not just as Marianne's old friend or Ethan's mentor, but as a man of compassion and strength. Ethan nodded, a small smile playing at his lips. "I know, it's a lot to process, but I'm glad I know the truth now. And I'm glad you're my mom, Nora. Both of you, you and Marianne." As the night wore on, we talked, really talked, about everything. The past, the present, our fears and hopes for the future. And as the first light of dawn crept through the windows, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known in years. Ethan yawned, stretching. "I should get some sleep. Big day tomorrow, starting the new job and all." As he headed to his room, he paused, looking back at Arthur and me. "You know, you two make a pretty good team." With that, he was gone, leaving Arthur and me alone. We looked at each other, a spark of something new and exciting passing between us. "He's right," Arthur said softly. "We do make a good team." I smiled, feeling the weight of the past lifting from my shoulders. "Yes, we do." As Arthur took my hand, I realized that this wasn't just an ending, it was a new beginning. For Ethan, stepping into his future with the truth as his foundation. For me, finding love and companionship when I least expected it. And for all of us, as a family, bound not by blood or obligation, but by choice and love. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where it would lead. Together, we would face whatever came our way, stronger and more resilient than ever before.